Thanks, noted standing councillors. Welcome to the public forum of the Ordinary Council meeting, Musgrave Shire Council, which is being held in the meeting room, level 1, the TEC building, Wood Street, Musgrave, Tuesday, 26th of May 2026. The declared the meeting open at 4:01. Please note that the forum is being live streamed and will be made available on the council's website. The item we're dealing with in this is item 9.2.1, draft code of media practice. I anticipate any councillors will have a declaration of interest, but I will ask. No declaration of interest. We have one person in public participation tonight, Mr. Brandon Taylor, speaking in regards to 9.2.1, draft code of meeting practice up for adoption. Mr. Taylor, you have 2 minutes, and then please remain at the easel for councillors to ask questions. So when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and councillors, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on the code meeting covered in that 9.2. It's something I feel is very important, and that's why I came to address you. And I was grateful for that seriously, but also so that you can also answer questions. There's quite a long history of the development of this code. Going back in this council back to even last year, there were several meetings where the draft code meeting practice was discussed in March, in May, and in August. And then finally, of course, the draft code was adopted at the meeting on 16th of December. That was adopted pretty much as recommended by the Office of Local Government. Some aspects are mandatory, others are not. The part that was not mandatory was adopted, which was that votes in close council would be recorded. Following several meetings after that council, I happened to notice that the votes haven't been recorded in the minutes. So I quite gratefully contacted the general manager and asked why those votes were not in fact covered. The answer was that it was an oversight, which happens. It was a long document, but admittedly, council did have the opportunity to read the draft code. It was on exhibition for a prolonged period, and it was accepted at the end of it. What we now have, of course, is the fact that many councils have adopted, I think it's 11.5 or 11.11 of that code, which means that every time you have a vote, that vote is recorded as per each individual council, both in open council and I've actually referenced quite a few councils who've done exactly those words. In this instance, of course, council did adopt that very same wording, but now in this meeting, you're looking to change wording. Such that council wouldn't record those votes. I think I'm following the Greens here, who suggested that it should be mandatory, and it really means that the requires council to be accountable for the community. To me, the recording of those votes is an important accountability mechanism. I think to change that code now at this meeting would be a step backwards in transparency and openness. Thank you.
Thank you. If you stay there, Mr. Taylor, any councillors have any questions? Any questions of Mr. Taylor? And this is Councillor Neil.
Want me to stand up? Mr. Taylor, did I hear you correctly when you said that you don't believe any other councillors have this exception?
I have used AI exhaustively for example. It's very hard to read through every council's minutes with this particular code of conduct phrase. Using professional AI, I've been unable to find any other council that hasn't adopted the standard code recommended by the Office of Local Government that votes should be recorded in open.
Any further questions? Councillor Scott.
Well, sorry, Mr. Taylor. Look, I can understand where you're coming from with regards to knowing which way councillors vote. The problem I have after that is because it's a closed council, you've got no idea what is behind the way a particular council votes in a certain way. So therefore you will make assumptions either in a black and white situation when it possibly was not a black and white situation because you don't have the additional information, because you don't have access to the closed council discussion side of it. That's the one concern I have where a councillor can be judged on a vote without any understanding of the discussion that happened that led to that vote.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, Councillor Scholes, but often in open council, there's not extensive discussion and not everyone's present. The minutes, of course, are what most individuals have to rely on, and the minutes are very rarely detailed. So I think there's a lot of similarities between the way business is conducted and that. Equally, of course, if any councillor feels he doesn't want to be referenced in council, in both councillor votes, they can simply decide to leave that vote and not participate.
They can abstain from the vote, and that is recorded as an abstain. So it's essentially a declining vote, which could be seen as voting against the item without the opportunity to be able to explain why they have voted that way.
Yeah, look, I'm aware of that, and of course each councillor has to make that decision. But unless there's a very important reason not to be disclosed, I think as an accountability of people, is there any way ratepayers can know exactly how the councillors they elected are voting?
Well, I have a number of questions. Any other councillors have any questions? Mr. Taylor, you give us 15 examples of councils that have the record. Now, I haven't had a chance, I agree, it's quite difficult because a lot of material to go through, but you give us 15 examples and rely on those examples. As councils that, in your words, and correct me if I'm wrong, are transparent, and you say are transparent in this thing. Are you aware, Mr. Taylor, the evidence you've provided is actually factual? I can tell you Liverpool Shire Council, and I haven't been through all of them, but Liverpool Shire Council, Bogan Shire Council, and Bayside Council, in fact, don't do what you claim they do. The information you provided, you want councils to rely on in their decision tonight, isn't accurate. And they're only the ones I've had to look at. I'm not, there might be more in that 15, I'm not aware, because I agree with you, it's an awful lot of information to get through. Were you aware of that, or did you just rely on AI and say that was good enough?
That was the first time I used. I actually did the exercise several times. I thought I had checked Bayside particularly, although I don't see that in my notes.
You mentioned in the notes, you specifically mentioned Bayside.
Oh, yeah.
So it's the one I was directed to. I looked at Bayside. They adopted theirs on the 10th of December 2025. In fact, not how you claim, or that they do what you claim they do.
Well, I'll read Bayside Council specifically because you brought it up. While originally following the former Rockdale City Council's code, Bayside has been progressively aligning with the latest model code updates. So at the time I did the search, they hadn't fully completed that.
This was 10 December. This was adopted 10 December. I mean, it's just a simple matter of going back, looking at that council code of meeting practice and what that code of meeting practice contains. So they might have said, "Oh, I went through, I can't find the information that you had, so I don't know whether you make me up with another council or what it might be." But in fact, I can't find it. But the code of meeting practice is fairly clear. It's clear for those other two. Again, I don't know about the other 12, maybe 15, because it is a big job to go through. But I just want to ease your mind about transparency. And I want to explain to you a little bit further, a little bit deeper with the comments Councillor Scholes made. It was raised by 3 councillors, I'm aware. For the record, I wasn't one of them, but it was raised by 3 councillors. One councillor in particular copped a fair bit of criticism from the community about a decision that they had made in close council. Now, they said to the person who was criticising, "Well, how did you know?" Now, quite obviously, someone, obviously in this room, who was in close council, generally that's only councillors and senior staff, well, it is only councillors and senior staff, had gone out and told them, because what they were saying, that she had in fact voted that way, but she said, "Hang on, you've got to understand the reasons why I voted that way." And of course, she couldn't explain the reasons why she voted that way, because she knew it was in closed council. So she couldn't say, "Well, hang on, I didn't support it, but these are the reasons I didn't support it, and I debated that, and that's the reason I didn't support it." So not only did I not support it, I actually, in her case, I can't say what is closed council, in her case, she said, "Well, I've actually put a separate motion forward for that to change. But of course, when that's information in closed council, it's confidential. They have to be confidential councils certainly in relation to budgets and money. But unfortunately, not always can we be confident that closed council remains closed council when it's required. There's been more than one occasion we've dealt with this council in particular, and it's obviously difficult for me as the mayor and the chair to do too much about that, because I have to get people to admit that they were the ones that went out and spoke to outside people. I mean, we've had the most recent example of with a property purchase, quite a confidential matter. Not confidential in the end, of course, it's public. We don't remember the kind of property purchase that only a couple of days after that purchase we were approached by another real estate agent in town who told us all about what had happened in the closed council a couple of nights before. I had to come out of this room. So there's councils have some genuine concerns, and that's something that me, as the mayor of this council and the chair of this meeting, I have to deal with, and I have been dealing with it, and I've been trying to deal with it. But in regards to the areas of transparency, I just want to talk about, I can only talk about the last couple of councils I'm familiar with, but just to ease your mind, Mr. Taylor, the mayor now, and this is for reasons of transparency, so it can't be just through one person, but the mayor no longer in this council chairs it, other than 2 committee meetings, I think. So a councillor chairs every other committee meeting. It's chaired by a different person who deals directly with that staff. So of course, that's the transparency. That's so one person can't be, so you've got everything, you're the other one. Secondly, we now no longer have any briefings before committees or ordinary council. Now, you've probably read extensively, Mr. Taylor, that there's a number of councils, being recorded, I'm aware of that. There's a number of councils who are doing their best to get around that. This council isn't one of them. We no longer have briefings in regards to matters we're dealing with in committee meetings. I'm not sure whether you're aware, we report monthly on our budget financials, not quarterly like most councils. And section 226 of the previous councils, it's never happened in this council, it's the first time. But section 226 is a document that the mayor signs in, the mayor has been the sole decision maker acting between councils. That no longer happens. So it's signed to section 226 now without distributing that information to every single councillor on every single occasion to get their view, to make sure that they're aware. I mean, it's generally the expenditure of funds, to make sure that they're aware of what's going on. So I hope that eases your mind a little bit in transparency. In fact, I would confidently say there isn't a more transparent, or never has been a more transparent council than this one currently.
Great, well, thanks so much for those clarifying comments. I think what we're looking at is the totality of votes. There will always be some votes in close council that people definitely don't want to declared. So why not have an openness policy? But in any particular instance where there could be something that's highly sensitive, vote on that particular individual matter, that the votes won't be declared. I think that's pretty simple.
So if we're speaking about that particular clause, it says, if we were to adopt that clause in its entirety, that there's a requirement that all voting at council meetings, including meetings that are closed to the public, must be recorded. So there isn't an option then for council to opt out of having their vote recorded. The way that we are looking at moving towards, which is excluding the must be recorded. If councillors wish to have their votes recorded in there, then they still have that option to ask for that to occur.
Right, so that's only you say.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm all for transparency and I'm all for doing the right thing. And I believe this council is certainly heading in the right direction.
Thanks, Mr. Taylor. Any further questions? Thanks, Mr. Taylor. Thanks for your comment.
Thank you.